Hey guys, tonight we're going to journey back in time to the green woods of medieval England, where outlaw legends were born and forest laws were broken. But don't get too cozy just yet. This isn't your typical heroic tale of Robin Hood robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. It's the raw, gritty story of what it was really like to live on the run as an outlaw, without the Hollywood gloss. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'm always curious to know where you're tuning in from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It's 1192. You've just woken up. No warm sheets or fluffy pillows here. You're lying on the cold, hard forest floor of Sherwood, your body stiff from another night of rough sleep. The air bites at your skin, and the faintest hint of the day's warmth hasn't yet crept in. As you pull yourself up, you realize that the ground beneath you is uneven, hard, and unforgiving. The morning light filters through the towering oaks, but it does little to ease the pain in your muscles. The remnants of your blanket, nothing more than a worn-out piece of fabric, are half off you, and the cold, dampness of the forest seeps into your bones. This isn't some romanticized escape into the wild. This is the real deal. Outlaw life means discomfort, and it means survival above all else. You can feel the calluses on your palms from gripping your longbow for so long. They're cracked and raw, but you've gotten used to the sting. In fact, it's the only way you know how to survive now. Your grip on the bow is the difference between life and death. You glance around. Little John's massive form stirs on his bed, a simple pile of straw and tattered cloth. The man is huge, even in his sleep, and his blanket is barely enough to cover his broad shoulders. But that's not your problem right now. You stretch, feeling the cracks in your back, and the hunger gnaws at your stomach. It's another day of barely surviving in the forest, avoiding the sheriff's men who patrol these woods, hunting for you, hoping to collect that juicy bounty. A bounty on your head that only grows with each day you evade capture. Morning, you mumble, your voice hoarse from another restless night. Little John grunts in response. Morning? It's a miracle we're still alive. His voice is gruff, a mix of exhaustion and sarcasm. Another day in paradise. You chuckle darkly. Better than hanging from a gallows. You reply, though the words ring hollow. You both know it's true, but you also know that you can only dodge the law for so long. The rest of the men are still sleeping, tucked away in the cold shadows of the forest. Will Scarlet, the soldier turned outlaw, is curled up tight in his blanket, his arm over his eyes to block out the slanting sunlight. Much, the miller's son, is in a similar position. They're your band now, not the merry men of legend, but desperate men who have no choice but to stick together. Men who can't afford to trust anyone else in this cruel, unforgiving world. The forest around you is silent except for the occasional rustle of the wind through the trees and the distant sound of birds calling. The smell of damp earth and pine needles fills the air. It's earthy, fresh, but it's not the kind of air you breathe to relax. It's the air of the wild, the air of survival. You sit up slowly, your stiff muscles protesting with each movement. The chill in the air nips at your skin, and you pull your woolen tunic tighter around you. But it does little to ease the cold that's seeped into your bones overnight. There's no escaping it, not when you've chosen to live as an outlaw. Life as Robin Hood wasn't a decision you made lightly. You didn't grow up dreaming of breaking the king's laws. You didn't choose the bow and arrow because you wanted fame. You became Robin Hood because you didn't have a choice. It was either flee into the forest or face certain death. And for you, the choice was simple: run. Before all this, you were just Robert, a simple man with a small farm at the edge of Lockley Village. You weren't wealthy, but you weren't starving either. Life was hard, but it was bearable, until that brutal winter when the crops failed and your family had nothing left. The forest seemed like the answer. Plenty of deer, plenty of wild game to hunt. But the forest wasn't just anyone's land. It belonged to the king. And poaching meant death. You remember the day it all went wrong. Caught with a freshly killed deer, its blood still warm on your hands. You had two choices: stay and face the punishment, or run and become an outlaw. Wolf's head, they called it. A man who could be hunted like a wolf, killed without consequence. A man with no rights, no protection under the law. You chose to run. And so here you are, in Sherwood, with a price on your head. Outlaw, poacher, fugitive, but most importantly, alive. The others are stirring now. Will Scarlet, the former soldier, always ready for a fight, sits up with a grunt, rubbing his eyes. Much groans from his bed of straw. Another day, another struggle to survive. You stretch, trying to shake off the lingering aches in your muscles. It's not just the physical pain you feel. It's the constant weight of the life you've chosen. You left behind a wife, a family, and though you try to bury the memories, they're always there, lurking just beneath the surface. A wife who might not even recognize you now, and a son who's growing up without a father. Little John's voice breaks through your thoughts. We need to hunt today, he says, rubbing his eyes. Not just snares and hoping. We need real food. You nod in agreement. The forest provides, yes, but not always. You need meat. Good, solid meat. It's not just about surviving the day. It's about surviving the winter that's coming. And for that, you need to feed your men. North Ridge, you suggest. Saw tracks there yesterday. Could be a good spot. The others nod. No words are needed. You've been living together long enough to communicate without much talking. Survival breeds efficiency. As the others prepare for the day, you check your longbow. It's your most valuable possession. You've repaired it yourself, carving it from a single piece of you. It's tall as you are, and it takes strength to draw it. But it's what keeps you alive in this forest. The morning light grows stronger, but you're still far from comfortable. This life, this outlaw life, isn't glamorous. It's about constant vigilance, always watching your back, always being ready for the worst. But right now, all you can do is survive. And as you stand up, slinging your quiver over your shoulder and checking your bowstring, you remind yourself, today, we hunt. As you gather your things and ready yourself for the hunt, the forest comes alive. The chill of the morning still clings to the air, but you can feel the warmth of the sun beginning to break through the dense canopy above. The birds have begun their morning calls, signaling that the forest is awake, just like you. But unlike the birds, you're not singing, you're hunting. The forest is both your enemy and your ally, offering both refuge and danger at every turn. Little John's massive frame moves silently through the underbrush, his quarterstaff resting on his shoulder. While Scarlet is already at the edge of camp, carefully checking his sword and dagger. Even though he was once a soldier, he doesn't miss a single chance to sharpen his blades. Much, the miller's son, is more reserved, eyes scanning the surroundings as he goes about his tasks, his youthful face betraying a hunger for survival far greater than his years. You think we'll find anything today? Much asks, his voice quiet but full of uncertainty. You glance at him, offering a small, grim smile. We'll find something. The question is, will we make it back with it? Survival is never a given when you're on the run. Every day is a gamble, and the odds always seem stacked against you. The thought crosses your mind that you might be better off abandoning the forest. Maybe you could leave it all behind, turn yourself in, face the consequences, and walk away from the outlaw life. But you know that's not an option. Even though it's tempting to imagine the peace of a settled life, you can't bring yourself to abandon your men. They depend on you. They need you. This is your life now, and there's no turning back. The forest around you is a labyrinth, a place where nothing is ever as it seems. You know it better than anyone. Every tree, every stream, every patch of ground that turns to mud after the rain. The lawmen may be searching for you, but they can't move through the forest the way you can. You know its secrets, you know its paths, and that gives you the upper hand. The sound of a distant rustle breaks through the quiet, and you raise a hand to signal the others to stop. Your heart races as the adrenaline kicks in. Your eyes dart toward the noise, looking for any sign of movement. The forest is full of life, squirrels, rabbits, deer, but it's also full of threats. The sheriff's men could be anywhere, watching from the trees, waiting for the right moment to strike. You turn to Little John, nodding toward the sound. He nods back, his giant frame sinking into the underbrush with practiced ease. Will's sword gleams faintly in the sunlight as he moves alongside you, his eyes sharp and alert. Much follows quietly, his sling already in hand, ready for anything. You continue forward, moving silently through the trees. The leaves crunch beneath your boots, but you've learned how to walk without drawing attention. Every step is deliberate, each motion calculated. There's no room for mistakes in the wild. As you move deeper into the forest, you come across fresh tracks, hoof prints from a deer. Your heart leaps. This is it. This is the opportunity you've been waiting for. You signal to the others, and without a word, the group falls into a well-practiced formation. Little John moves forward, leading the way with his quarterstaff, clearing the path ahead. Will follows, his gaze scanning the area for any sign of danger. Much lingers in the back, keeping a watchful eye on your surroundings. The tracks lead you to a clearing, where sunlight pours through the canopy and illuminates the ground below. There, grazing peacefully, is a young buck, its dark eyes flicking nervously at the slightest disturbance. It doesn't see you yet, but you know it will soon. The time to strike is now. You carefully nock an arrow, drawing the string back with practiced ease. Your muscles strain as you hold the bow steady, aiming for the spot just behind the deer's front leg. Every muscle in your body is taut, the world narrowing to the deer and the shot you're about to make. You've made this shot 100 times before. You know the exact moment to release the arrow, the precise spot where it will pierce the heart for a clean kill. But today, there's something different. The air seems thicker, the weight of the decision heavier. You're not just an outlaw anymore. You're a leader, a symbol, and your every action counts. You release the string, and the arrow flies with deadly precision, striking the deer with a soft thud. The buck stumbles, then collapses to the ground, its life taken in an instant. You let out a quiet breath, the tension easing from your body as you approach the fallen animal. It's a clean kill, but the danger isn't over yet. You motion to the others, and they move quickly into action. Will takes his place, scanning the perimeter for any sign of danger, while Little John and you begin to dress the deer. There's no time to waste. Every moment spent here increases the risk of being discovered. The scent of blood is in the air, and it won't be long before the sheriff's men catch wind of it. As you work quickly, you can't help but feel a pang of guilt. This is the price of survival. Every deer you take, every animal you kill, keeps you and your men alive. But each kill also solidifies your position as an outlaw. It's the very act that defines you, poaching from the king's forest, and yet it's the act that you must continue to perform to survive. The forest is still, too still. Your eyes dart nervously around, instinctively scanning for any movement. That's when you hear it, the sound of hooves. Multiple horses approaching fast. Foresters, you can't risk being seen. Hide. You hiss, motioning for the others to scatter. You duck into the underbrush, pulling your cloak around you to blend into the shadows. Your heart pounds in your chest as the riders come closer, their hooves thundering against the earth. You hold your breath, hoping they don't hear the blood rushing in your ears. The riders approach the clearing, dismounting quickly to examine the deer. You can see them clearly now, their dark armor glinting in the sunlight. They're led by Guy of Gisborne, the sheriff's master at arms. A cruel man with a deep hatred for outlaws. His eyes sweep the clearing, his gaze narrowing when he sees the fresh kill. Find him, he barks, looking around with a sneer. He can't be far. Your stomach drops. They're close. Too close. You can feel the weight of your decision pressing down on you, knowing that your presence here could lead to disaster for your band. But you also know there's no turning back. You wait, holding your breath, praying they don't come closer. You watch as Guy of Gisborne paces, his men spreading out to search the forest. Every second feels like an eternity. And then, just as you think you'll be discovered, a shout from Gisborne rings out. "Nothing here," he says, his voice tinged with frustration. The riders mount their horses, and slowly, they begin to leave. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. "We made it," Little John mutters, his voice low but full of relief. But you know better. The danger is far from over. You still have to get the deer back to camp without being seen. It's not just about surviving. It's about surviving the hunt. The weight of the deer on your shoulders feels like 1,000 pounds as you move carefully back through the trees. Every step feels heavier, each snap of a twig or rustle of leaves amplifying the weight of your situation. You and Little John work together to transport the carcass, making sure to keep it hidden beneath the cover of dense underbrush and low-hanging branches. Will and Much are already ahead, creating distractions, ensuring that the path back to camp remains clear. The forest feels different now. It's not just the quiet after the danger. It's the weight of the kill, the knowledge that you've just reinforced your position as an outlaw. Every deer you take from the king's forest chips away at any remnants of peace you might have once hoped for. As you make your way deeper into the heart of Sherwood, your mind wanders. You think about the choices that led you here, how a simple man once had a small farm, a life that wasn't easy but was his. You think about Marion, your wife. It's been months since you last saw her. Her face is starting to fade in your memory, but you know that if you close your eyes, you can still see her, the way she smiled, the way her eyes sparkled when she was upset, how she held your son in her arms. You can almost hear her voice, but it's growing more distant. Your son, he was just a baby when you ran into the woods. You wonder if he remembers you. You wonder if he's heard the stories of Robin Hood, the outlaw who robs from the rich and gives to the poor. But you're not the hero the ballads will sing of. You're just a man doing what he must to survive. And for now, surviving is all that matters. As your thoughts drift, the sounds of the forest continue. The rustling of leaves, the calls of birds, the occasional scurry of small animals. But there's something unsettling about the stillness too. The longer you're out here, the more you realize how fragile life is. The forest doesn't care about your past or your regrets. It's all about what you do now. You either survive or you don't. There's no middle ground. You glance over at Little John, whose broad shoulders are hunched under the weight of the deer's carcass. His face is set in a grim line, but you know that beneath that exterior, he's as committed to the cause as you are. The band is everything. The camaraderie, the shared struggle, it's what keeps you all going. As you reach a small clearing, the others are already preparing the camp. Much, ever the quiet one, is tending to the fire, keeping it small to avoid detection. Will stands guard, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. The moment you return, the mood lightens. It's not just the fresh meat, though that's certainly a welcome sight. It's the relief of having made it through another day. You've all done it before, but each time feels like a small miracle. You know that the sheriff's men are still out there, combing the forest for any sign of you. But for now, you're safe. At least for tonight. The campfire crackles as the deer is prepared for the evening meal. There's no time for elaborate feasts, but the meat is tender, and the rich flavor is a welcome change from the stale, meager rations you've been living on. You sit down on the ground, your back against a tree, and for the first time today, you allow yourself to relax. The familiar routine of camp is comforting, something you've come to rely on. The firelight dances on the faces of your men, their expressions softening as they dig into their meal. Even Will, the former soldier with his hard edges, cracks a smile as he takes a bite. It's rare for you to see him like this, no longer the battle-hardened warrior, but a man simply trying to survive. You've all been through too much to be anything other than a family now. Little John sits beside you, a piece of meat in his hands, tearing into it with the same gusto he always brings to every meal. Not bad, he says through a mouthful, his voice filled with approval. Not bad at all. You smile and nod. Could have been better if we hadn't been caught up with those foresters, you say, the weight of the near miss still lingering in your chest. Little John snorts in response. Better? What would you have done? Shot them all down. His grin spreads across his face, but there's no humor in his eyes. He knows as well as you do that shooting the sheriff's men would only make things worse. The bounty on your head is already high enough without adding murder to your list of crimes. The conversation shifts to the next hunt, the need for more supplies, and the inevitable talk of what lies ahead. Will, ever the strategist, starts making plans for the next move. But as always, there's one thing on your mind that never seems to fade, the question of Marion and your son. You catch yourself staring into the fire, lost in thought. Much, noticing your silence, clears his throat softly. You okay? He asks, his voice gentle but with a knowing edge. You blink, shaking your head slightly, as if to clear the fog. Yeah, just thinking. Much nods. He doesn't press for more. He knows that the weight of the past weighs heavy on you, just as it does on him. Every one of you has something you're running from. It's what makes you all so tightly bound together. Outlaws, criminals to some, but to each other, family. After dinner, The conversation dies down as everyone settles into their respective spaces around the fire. There's a comfort in the silence now, a shared understanding that tomorrow will bring its own set of challenges. But for tonight, there's peace. The fire crackles and pops, casting flickering shadows across the camp. You lay back on your bed of leaves, your eyes on the stars above. The chill of the night seeps through your thin tunic, but it's a welcome discomfort. It reminds you that you're alive. And tonight, that's all that matters. Tomorrow will bring another hunt, another escape, another close call with the sheriff's men. But for now, you're at peace, even if just for a little while. As sleep finally begins to claim you, your last thought is of Marion, wondering what she's doing, whether she still thinks of you, or if she's built a life without you. But as you drift into sleep, the thought fades. Tomorrow is another day, and in Sherwood, the game of survival never stops. The first light of dawn cuts through the trees, slanting into the camp and waking you before you're fully ready. The forest is never silent at sunrise. It's filled with the sounds of animals rousing themselves, of birds calling to each other, of the wind rustling through the leaves. For a moment, you lie still, just listening to the forest waking up around you. It's familiar, comforting, but it also reminds you that you're still an outlaw, a man with a bounty on his head who's not welcome in the world of the living. You rise slowly, your body stiff from sleeping on the forest floor. It's the kind of ache that comes with a life lived on the run, your muscles constantly fighting against the hard ground, your back always strained. But it's a pain you've learned to live with. It's the price you pay for surviving another day. Little John is already up, stretching his massive frame and muttering under his breath. While Scarlet, the soldier turned outlaw, is sharpening his blade, eyes scanning the edges of the camp for any sign of danger. Much is still curled up in his blanket, though you can see the way his muscles tense even in sleep, as if his body is always ready for the next fight. You stand, your legs creaking as you move. The air is cold, the morning mist thick around the trees, but you know it won't last long. By midday, the heat of the forest will settle in, and the dampness will turn to a sticky warmth. Today feels different. There's a restlessness in the air, a feeling that something is about to change. You can't put your finger on it, but you feel it deep in your bones. It's been weeks since you've had a close call with the sheriff's men, and the bounty on your head has only grown. You know they'll be looking for you, probably already have a plan to flush you out. It's only a matter of time before they find you. We need to keep moving, you mutter to yourself, already thinking ahead. The forest is vast, but not so vast that you can escape forever. Eventually, the sheriff's men will corner you, and when that happens, you'll have no choice but to fight. But that's not today. Not yet. The fire is dying down, the embers glowing softly. Much stirs as you approach, rubbing his eyes. He's still young, just barely 20, but he's learned more about survival in the past few months than most people learn in a lifetime. He's one of the reasons you've managed to survive as long as you have. His quick thinking and resourcefulness have saved you more than once. Breakfast? Much asks, his voice hoarse from sleep. You nod, if you can call it that. You reply, glancing at the small pot of wild onions and dried venison hanging over the fire. It's not much, but it's enough to fill your stomach for the time being. The others join you around the fire, each of them keeping their thoughts to themselves as they eat. There's something about mornings in the forest that makes everything feel quieter, more solemn. You eat in silence, each of you thinking about the day ahead, about the dangers you might face. After breakfast, the camp breaks down quickly. There's no time to waste. You've become experts at moving quietly and efficiently, knowing that every extra minute spent here increases the chance of being spotted by the sheriff's men. Little John takes the lead, always the first to set off, followed by Will and Much, and then you, bringing up the rear. You move like a shadow through the trees, using the cover of the forest to hide your movements. It's been a while since you've been this deep into the woods. As you move further, the trees begin to thin out, and the forest opens up into a small clearing. The sunlight breaks through the canopy in patches, casting long shadows across the ground. The air smells different here, crisp, fresh, with the scent of pine and earth. You pause, scanning the area. There's something familiar about this place, but you can't place it. North Ridge, you say quietly. Little John nods. Tracks. You crouch down, inspecting the ground carefully. The tracks are fresh, hoofs, large ones. Deer, maybe. You point toward the tracks, and Little John moves forward, crouching down next to you. Could be a good one, he mutters, his voice low. You nod, rising slowly. We'll follow them. But be careful. The sheriff's men might be close. The hunt begins, but it's not just about finding food. It's about staying ahead of the danger. You can't afford to make mistakes. Every step you take in these woods is a risk, and every decision could be your last. The tracks lead you deeper into the forest, toward a part of Sherwood you don't recognize. The further you go, the more you feel the weight of the forest around you. The trees grow denser, their trunks twisted and gnarled, and the underbrush thickens, making it harder to move silently. You signal to the others to slow down, and they follow your lead without question. As you press on, the forest feels alive. The sounds of the woods grow louder, the rustle of leaves, the scurry of small animals, the distant calls of birds. But there's something else, a faint noise in the distance. Hoofbeats. Your heart races. It's too early for the sheriff's men to be this close, but you can't take chances. Spread out. You whisper. Stay low. You and Little John move to the left, ducking behind a cluster of dense trees. Will and Much take the opposite side, ready to meet any threat head-on. The sound grows louder, and you know it's only a matter of time before whoever it is comes into view. The sound of horses reaches you just as you spot them. For riders, armed and clearly on patrol. They're moving slowly, scanning the forest, completely unaware of your presence. You hold your breath, your fingers tightening on your bow. The tension is thick in the air, and you know that any wrong move could end this day with a fight you can't afford. You wait, every muscle in your body tense, ready to move at a moment's notice. The riders pass, just a few feet away from your position, oblivious to the fact that Robin Hood and his men are hidden in the woods around them. Once they're out of sight, you let out a breath, signaling to the others. They follow your lead, emerging from the cover of the trees. You can feel the adrenaline still buzzing in your veins. That was close, Little John mutters, looking back toward where the riders disappeared. Too close. You agree, the weight of the close call settling over you. But for now, you've survived another day. With the riders gone, you continue your journey, the hunt still on. The forest seems quieter now, as if the trees themselves are holding their breath. But you're not naive enough to believe that danger has passed. The deeper you go, the more you can feel the weight of your decisions pressing down on you. The choices you've made, the price you've paid for freedom, have led you to this life. Outlaw, poacher, fugitive. And yet, there's no escaping it now. Not when your men are relying on you. Not when your name has become a symbol of defiance. The road ahead is uncertain, but for now, you move forward, one step at a time, deeper into the woods. As the day wears on, the sun climbs higher in the sky, and the air grows warmer. But the intensity of the hunt doesn't ease. If anything, it sharpens. Every step you take is calculated, every sound from the forest analyzed. The closer you get to your quarry, the more alert you become. The forest is full of life, yes, but it's also full of danger. Your heart still pounds from that last encounter with the sheriff's men, and you know that it's only a matter of time before you cross paths with them again. You continue moving through the forest, the weight of your bow heavy in your hands. There's an odd sense of calm as you walk. Perhaps it's the routine of the hunt, or maybe it's the sheer focus needed to survive out here. Everything else seems distant. Your past, the life you left behind, even the danger that lurks around every corner. All that matters right now is finding food for your men and staying one step ahead of those who would see you dead. Little John is a few paces ahead, his broad form blending easily into the trees. He's silent, moving like a shadow through the underbrush. You don't have to speak to him to know what he's thinking. He's always thinking about the next step, the next move. That's what makes him such a good ally. He knows when to fight, when to hide, and when to simply be still and listen. Will, the soldier turned outlaw, is on your right, his hand never far from his sword. He's always on edge, always prepared for a fight. He was trained for war, but he's learning quickly that surviving as an outlaw requires a different kind of skill. It's not just about fighting. It's about being smarter, faster, and more resourceful than the men hunting you. Much trails behind, more cautious than the others. You often wonder how someone like him, with no prior experience in the wild, managed to survive in Sherwood. But then again, you've seen him do things that would make any seasoned outlaw proud. He's a survivor, just like the rest of you. The tracks you've been following seem to lead to a small clearing up ahead. You motion for the others to stop, signaling with a raised hand. The forest around you is quiet, and for a moment, you think you hear something. A faint rustling, almost imperceptible. Stay low, you whisper, barely moving your lips. You crouch down behind a thick bush, your eyes scanning the clearing ahead. Your instincts are sharp, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You know something is wrong. It's too quiet. You peek through the underbrush, just in time to spot movement in the clearing. It's the deer you've been tracking. It's grazing calmly, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. But there's something else. Another figure. A man is standing just at the edge of the clearing, his back to you. He's dressed in the dull brown tunic of a traveler, and he's holding a bow. He's waiting, just like you, his eyes locked on the deer. It's a trap. You can feel it in your gut. You exchange a glance with Little John. Without a word, he shifts to the right, circling around the clearing. Will follows his lead, moving left. Much stays close to you, ready for whatever comes next. You keep your bow drawn, your eyes never leaving the stranger. The man doesn't notice you yet. He's focused entirely on the deer. But the moment he draws his bow, you know you'll have to act. Seconds feel like hours as you wait. You've learned to control your breathing, to still your racing heart. But today, something is different. This isn't just any hunt. This is a moment that will define everything. You're not just an outlaw anymore. You're a leader, and your band is depending on you. Finally, the stranger draws his bow. The deer is just a few paces ahead of him. He aims, but he doesn't shoot. Something isn't right. In that moment, the decision is made for you. You rise from your crouch, moving swiftly through the underbrush, your feet soundless on the forest floor. You raise your bow and let the arrow fly. It's a perfect shot, striking the man's bow from his hands. He stumbles back, his eyes wide in shock, but he doesn't make a sound. The deer bolts, disappearing into the trees, and the stranger looks around, searching for the source of the attack. His eyes lock onto you, and for a moment, neither of you moves. "Who are you?" the man calls out, his voice sharp with fear. You don't answer. You're already moving toward him, your bow still drawn. He raises his hands, signaling that he means no harm, but you don't trust him. You can't afford to. Stay where you are. You command, your voice low but firm. The stranger seems to hesitate, but he doesn't run. "I'm no enemy," he says. "I just need to survive." You don't drop your bow. And why should I believe that? "I'm no outlaw," he says, taking a cautious step forward. "But I'm not the sheriff's man either. I'm just a man trying to make it out here. Like you." The tension hangs in the air, thick as the forest itself. But you know better than to trust anyone. Not here, not in Sherwood, where survival is a game you can't play alone. You lower your bow slightly, but keep it at the ready. "What's your name?" "Edward," he replies, his eyes still darting between you and the other men, now closing in from the edges of the clearing. "Edward of Wickham Village." "Wickham Village," you repeat, the name sounding familiar, but you can't quite place it. "What do you want with that deer?" "I need it to survive," he says, his voice softer now. "The forest doesn't give enough. The sheriff's men take everything else." The words strike a chord deep inside you. You know that life all too well. You've lived it, day after day. The constant struggle to survive, to find food, to avoid capture, and to keep moving. You glance at Little John, who shrugs in response. You turn back to Edward, your mind racing with possibilities. He's a man in need, just like you were once. But that doesn't mean he can be trusted. "We'll let you go," you say, "but you're not following us." Edward nods quickly, relief flooding his face. "I won't follow. I'll go, but I'll remember." You motion for him to leave, and he turns, disappearing into the trees just as quickly as he appeared. You watch him go, your heart heavy with the weight of the decision. "Another one to watch," Little John mutters as you move forward. You nod, knowing he's right. But for now, there's nothing to do but continue the hunt. to stay one step ahead of the sheriff and survive another day. The forest feels different now, a bit more oppressive, the shadows longer as the sun begins to dip lower in the sky. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and pine needles, and the bird song that once filled the trees seems quieter now. Every snap of a twig underfoot, every rustle in the bushes makes you flinch. You can't shake the feeling that someone is watching, but you push the thought aside. You've been an outlaw long enough to know that paranoia is just part of the game. Still, there's something unsettling about today. You don't like it. You move forward cautiously, your eyes scanning the forest around you. You feel the weight of the bow in your hands, the long arrow quiver resting at your side. The hunt is still on, and you need to find more food for your men. The forest provides, but it's not always predictable. There are days when it's plentiful, and there are days when it seems to give nothing at all. But the longer you're out here, the more you realize that your survival depends not just on finding food, it depends on how well you know this forest, how well you know the land. Keep your guard up, you murmur to Little John, who's walking a few paces ahead of you. Something feels off. He glances back at you with a raised brow, but he doesn't argue. Little John's instincts are sharp as yours, and he knows when something's wrong. He knows when the air has changed, when the weight of the forest feels heavier than usual. "We'll keep moving," he replies, his voice low but steady. "We'll find the game, and we'll get back before dark. We can't afford to stay out here too long." You nod. The last thing you need is to be caught out in the open when the sun sets. The forest at night is dangerous, even for someone as skilled as you. The sheriff's men are relentless, and while the cover of darkness might help you escape, it's just as likely to make you a sitting target. You push forward, scanning the ground for any signs of movement. The forest seems quiet now, the only sounds coming from the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft crunch of your boots against the earth. Your heart races a little as you spot something ahead, a flash of movement. It's a deer, grazing lazily in a small clearing. It's just what you need, meat to feed the men, and a step closer to survival. But then something else catches your eye. Another figure, a man, standing at the edge of the clearing. His back is turned to you, but you can see the outline of his figure, slender, dressed in a dark cloak. He's aiming a bow at the same deer you were about to target. Your stomach drops. "Not again," you mutter under your breath. The same feeling of unease you had earlier comes flooding back, stronger this time. It's too quiet. The stranger's presence doesn't sit right with you. You motion for Little John and Will to stop, signaling with your hand for them to take cover. They crouch low, slipping behind trees and bushes. Much, ever the cautious one, remains close to you. You can feel his nervousness, his body tensing in anticipation. The stranger doesn't seem to notice you at first. He's focused entirely on the deer, his bow drawn and aimed with deadly precision. He's good, very good. Whoever this man is, he knows how to hunt. You've got to act fast. You can't afford to let him take the deer, but you also don't want to risk alerting him to your presence. If he's a hunter like you, he'll know how to cover his tracks. You're not about to let another stranger claim what's rightfully yours. Stay low, you whisper, your voice barely audible. "When I give the signal, we move in." You raise your bow, silently knocking an arrow, the smooth shaft resting against your fingers. Your focus narrows to the stranger and the deer, your heartbeat in sync with the rhythm of the forest. Every muscle in your body is tensed, ready to move, ready to act. The stranger releases the arrow. It flies straight and true, striking the deer in the flank. The animal stumbles, its body jerking with the force of the impact, but it doesn't fall. It's still alive, still struggling. The stranger's eyes widen in surprise, as if he hadn't expected the deer to survive the shot. You don't hesitate. You release your own arrow, sending it sailing through the air. It strikes the stranger's bow, knocking it out. The forest feels different now, a bit more oppressive, the shadows longer as the sun begins to dip lower in the sky. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and pine needles, and the bird song that once filled the trees seems quieter now. Every snap of a twig underfoot, every rustle in the bushes makes you flinch. You can't shake the feeling that someone is watching, but you push the thought aside. You've been an outlaw long enough to know that paranoia is just part of the game. Still, there's something unsettling about today. You don't like it. You move forward cautiously, your eyes scanning the forest around you. You feel the weight of the bow in your hands, the long arrow quiver resting at your side. The hunt is still on, and you need to find more food for your men. The forest provides, but it's not always predictable. There are days when it's plentiful, and there are days when it seems to give nothing at all. But the longer you're out here, the more you realize that your survival depends not just on finding food. It depends on how well you know this forest, how well you know the land. Keep your guard up, you murmur to Little John, who's walking a few paces ahead of you. Something feels off. He glances back at you with a raised brow, but he doesn't argue. Little John's instincts are sharp as yours, and he knows when something's wrong. He knows when the air has changed, when the weight of the forest feels heavier than usual. "We'll keep moving," he replies, his voice low but steady. "We'll find the game, and we'll get back before dark. We can't afford to stay out here too long." You nod. The last thing you need is to be caught out in the open when the sun sets. The forest at night is dangerous, even for someone as skilled as you. The sheriff's men are relentless, and while the cover of darkness might help you escape, it's just as likely to make you a sitting target. You push forward, scanning the ground for any signs of movement. The forest seems quiet now, the only sounds coming from the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft crunch of your boots against the earth. Your heart races a little as you spot something ahead, a flash of movement. It's a deer, grazing lazily in a small clearing. It's just what you need, meat to feed the men, and a step closer to survival. But then something else catches your eye. Another figure, a man, standing at the edge of the clearing. His back is turned to you, but you can see the outline of his figure, slender, dressed in a dark cloak. He's aiming a bow at the same deer you were about to target. Your stomach drops. "Not again," you mutter under your breath. The same feeling of unease you had earlier comes flooding back, stronger this time. It's too quiet. The stranger's presence doesn't sit right with you. You motion for Little John and will. The air feels different now, heavier somehow, as you consider Edward's words. Marion is alive. Your son is alive. You can picture them in your mind. The memory of her face, soft but worn from hardship. The little boy you haven't seen since he was a baby, now a child with his own world of experiences without you. The longing presses down on your chest, but it's quickly overshadowed by the sharpness of reality. You can't just waltz into Wickham. Not now. Not when the sheriff's men are on the hunt for you. You know that returning to the village would be a death sentence. If you get caught, they'll hang you for sure. And yet, there's a part of you that aches to see Marion again, to hold your son. To know that they're safe, that they haven't forgotten you. It's a dangerous thought, one that's hard to shake, even as the weight of the decision presses on your mind. You glance around at your men, your family, in a way. They're looking to you for guidance, for a plan, as always. But this time, the choice isn't so simple. You've been running for so long, living off scraps and stolen meat. You've avoided the law, evaded the sheriff's men, and kept the price on your head from being more than just a number. But going to Wickham changes everything. It puts everyone in danger, not just you. And you know that your decision will affect the band, whether they want it to or not. "What now?" Will asks, his voice cutting through the quiet tension. His sword rests loosely in his hand, but you can tell he's ready for anything. Always ready for a fight. "Edward," you begin, your voice low. "You're sure about Marion?" Edward's eyes flicker with recognition, but his expression softens, filled with a quiet sadness. "I am. She's in Wickham. I've seen her there, heard the rumors. They're watching her." The mention of the sheriff's men sends a chill down your spine. They're everywhere, and they know Marion might have something to do with you. They know she's linked to the outlaw they've been hunting for months. The danger isn't just to you, it's to her, too. You can't risk leading them to her doorstep, but you can't abandon her either. You can't leave her to face the sheriff's wrath alone. You think for a moment, the weight of the decision pressing down on you. "We'll move camp," you finally say, voice steady despite the storm raging inside you. "We can't stay here, not with this news." Little John nods. "I'll scout ahead, make sure we're clear." "Good." you reply. We'll head north, take the long way around. We need to stay hidden. You've made the decision. You won't rush into Wickham, but you can't ignore the pull of your past either. You'll bide your time, wait for the right moment. You'll find Marion, but you'll do it on your terms. When the danger is at its lowest, when the sheriff's men aren't expecting it, the band prepares to move. It's a familiar routine, gathering what little you have, checking weapons, and making sure no one has left anything behind. As you walk through the camp, you catch a glimpse of the deer you hunted earlier. It's been butchered and packed, ready to be carried with you. You won't let it go to waste. Not when you know how hard it is to get food in this forest. Edward lingers near the edge of the camp, looking uneasy, like he doesn't quite belong. But then again, none of you really belong here, do you? Outlaws, fugitives. You've all been pushed into this life, and you'll all have to make sacrifices to survive. He catches your eye and gives you a nod of appreciation. Thank you for not turning me away, he says, his voice quiet but sincere. You nod back. We don't leave people behind, not unless they give us a reason to. With that, you lead the way into the forest. The men fall into line behind you, following without question, as they always do. There's a certain rhythm to the way you move through the woods, quiet, efficient, and alert. The knowledge of the forest is second nature to all of you now. You've been living here for so long that it feels like home, even though it's not. Home is something you left behind, something you're not sure you'll ever see again. The day passes in a blur of trees, dirt paths, and the occasional flicker of movement in the distance. The forest seems to close in on you as you walk, the towering trees blocking out the sun. You can feel the weight of your decision bearing down on you. The pull of Marion, the need to protect your son. You have to do something. You can't just hide away in the forest forever. That night, the camp is set up in a small clearing. The fire burns low, casting a flickering light on the faces of your men. Little John is on watch, his broad form silhouetted against the darkness. Will is sharpening his sword again, his focus unbroken. Much sits a little apart, watching the fire as it burns down to embers. The air feels different now, heavier somehow, as you consider Edward's words. Marion is alive. Your son is alive. You can picture them in your mind. The memory of her face, soft but worn from hardship. The little boy you haven't seen since he was a baby. Now a child with his own world of experiences without you. The longing presses down on your chest, but it's quickly overshadowed by the sharpness of reality. You can't just waltz into Wickham. Not now. Not when the sheriff's men are on the hunt for you. You know that returning to the village would be a death sentence. If you get caught, they'll hang you for sure. And yet, there's a part of you that aches to see Marion again, to hold your son. To know that they're safe, that they haven't forgotten you. It's a dangerous thought, one that's hard to shake, even as the weight of the decision presses on your mind. You glance around at your men, your family, in a way. They're looking to you for guidance, for a plan, as always. But this time, the choice isn't so simple. You've been running for so long, living off scraps and stolen meat. You've avoided the law, evaded the sheriff's men, and kept the price on your head from being more than just a number. But going to Wickham changes everything. It puts everyone in danger, not just you. And you know that your decision will affect the band, whether they want it to or not. What now? Will asks, his voice cutting through the quiet tension. His sword rests loosely in his hand, but you can tell he's ready for anything. Always ready for a fight. Edward, you begin, your voice low. You're sure about Marion? Edward? The forest is still, too still. You've spent enough nights in Sherwood to know when the air is too quiet, when it holds its breath, waiting for something to happen. Tonight, it's one of those nights. The usual rustle of nocturnal creatures has quieted, and the wind barely stirs the leaves. It feels as if the forest itself is holding its breath, waiting for the next move. Every snap of a twig underfoot, every rustle of leaves feels magnified, a reminder that you can never let your guard down. You sit by the fire, the warmth a welcome contrast to the chill of the night air. The fire crackles and pops, sending flickering shadows across the faces of your men. Little John sits across from you, his eyes scanning the forest, his muscles tense despite the calm. Will is sharpening his sword again, the rhythmic scrape of steel on stone punctuating the silence. Much, as usual, is quieter than the others, his thoughts clearly elsewhere as he watches the fire. Edward, the stranger you let into your camp, is sitting apart from the rest, his eyes darting nervously between you and your men. He's clearly out of his element, but he's been useful so far. You can't afford to turn him away, not when he might be the only link to Marion. But you can't trust him either, not fully. Not yet. You glance at Edward, who catches your eye. His gaze is wary but hopeful, like a man on the edge of something he doesn't fully understand. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," he says quietly, his voice barely audible over the crackling fire. "I just needed help." You nod, acknowledging his words without offering reassurance. You don't have the luxury of making promises. Not when the lives of your men are at stake. Not when Marion's safety depends on the choices you make. "I understand," you say, keeping your voice steady. "But you need to know that we don't trust easily. Not in these woods. Not after everything we've been through." Edward nods, looking down at the ground as if the weight of your words is settling into his chest. You can see the conflict in his eyes. He's not sure whether he belongs here, whether he can trust you and your men. But in a way, you understand him. You've been in his position before, desperate, unsure, lost in a world that doesn't care whether you survive or not. The fire pops again, sending a small shower of sparks into the night. You watch them drift upward, disappearing into the darkness. For a moment, the weight of everything you've done, everything you've lost, presses down on you. It's not just Marion anymore. It's the life you could have had, the future that slipped away the moment you became an outlaw. You can't change the past, but you can still fight for the future. You have to. The thought lingers in your mind, heavy and oppressive. Marion is waiting for you, but so is the danger. The sheriff's men are always close, always hunting, always one step behind. The thought of walking into Wickham, into the heart of the danger, feels like a death sentence. But you can't run forever. And no matter how much you try to convince yourself that staying away is safer, the truth gnaws at you. You need to see Marion. You need to make sure she's all right. It's not just about you anymore. It's about her, your son, the family you abandoned for survival. You can't leave them to the mercy of the sheriff's men, not when you know the truth. You have to protect them. You have to make it right. But you can't do it alone. You turn your gaze to Little John, who's still watching the trees, his face set in a grim expression. "We need to talk," you say, your voice low. Little John looks over at you, then nods, rising to his feet. "What's on your mind?" he asks, his voice steady, despite the unease in the air. "We move tomorrow," you say, the words heavy with finality. "We'll head for Wickham. We'll take the long way, avoid the main roads. But we're going. I'm not leaving Marion behind." Little John's brow furrows, and he takes a deep breath. "You sure about this?" he asks. "Wickham's crawling with the sheriff's men. You walk in there, and it'll be a bloodbath." "I know," you reply, your voice steady. "But I can't leave her there. Not when I know she's waiting for me." Little John studies you for a long moment, his eyes narrowed. Then, with a heavy sigh, he nods. "If we're doing this, we'll need to be smart. No mistakes. We'll take the back roads, stay off the beaten path. And we move fast." You nod, feeling a sense of relief settle in your chest. Little John's been with you from the start, and you know he's right. You can't afford mistakes, but you also can't afford to wait any longer. Marion is waiting, and you can't leave her in danger. Not when you have the chance to make things right. "We leave at dawn," you say, rising to your feet. "We make camp halfway, rest for the night, and then we go. We'll stay under the radar. The last thing we need is to get spotted." Little John nods, his face grim. "I'll get the men ready." You walk over to Will and Much, informing them of the plan. They don't say much at first, but you can see the determination in their eyes. They're with you as always. And in this moment, you realize how much you've come to rely on them. You might be the leader, but they are the ones who keep you grounded. They are your family now. As the fire burns low, you sit in silence for a moment, your mind racing with thoughts of the days ahead. Tomorrow, you'll make your move. Tomorrow, you'll finally see Marion again, hold her in your arms, and make sure she's safe. But it won't be easy. It won't be simple. The sheriff's men won't stop until they have you. They won't stop until they've taken everything from you. You close your eyes, the weight of the decision heavy on your chest. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges, its own dangers. But for tonight, you allow yourself a brief moment of peace. The fire crackles softly, the warmth soothing your tired muscles. You can feel the pull of sleep, but your thoughts remain restless. And as the shadows stretch long across the clearing, you know that the journey ahead will be more than just a fight for survival. It will be a fight for the life you once had, for the family you left behind. It's a fight you can't afford to lose. The first light of dawn breaks through the trees, painting the world in pale shades of gold. The air is crisp and still, and for a moment, you stand there, watching the sun rise above the horizon, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. The sounds of the forest waking up around you, birds singing, the rustle of leaves in the wind, are drowned out by the pounding of your own heart. Today, everything changes. Today, you risk everything. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself for what's to come. You can't afford to hesitate. Marion is waiting. Your son is waiting. Every step you take today leads you closer to them, but it also leads you into the heart of danger. The sheriff's men are everywhere. They know your face, your name, and they're still looking for you, hunting you down like an animal. But you have no choice now. Ready? Little John's voice breaks through your thoughts, steady and firm. His eyes meet yours, full of the same resolve you feel in your own chest. He's been with you from the start, and you know he'll follow you into any danger. You nod. Let's move. The band gathers quickly, their faces set in grim determination. Will checks his sword one last time, and Much makes sure the supplies are packed tight. Edward, the stranger, is ready, though you can see the uncertainty in his eyes. He doesn't belong here, not really, but he's with you now, and you need him. Keep close. You order, your voice low. We'll take the long way around, avoid the main roads. The less attention we draw, the better. The forest feels even more oppressive today. It's as if the trees are closing in on you, as if they know the danger is coming. Every step you take feels like it could be your last. But there's no turning back now. The path ahead is unclear, but it's the only one that leads to Marion. It's the only one that leads to hope. You lead the way, your eyes scanning the forest for any sign of danger. Every twig that snaps, every rustle in the underbrush has you on edge. The world around you seems too quiet, too still, as if it's waiting for something to happen. You can feel the eyes of the forest on you. You can feel the danger lurking just beyond the trees. Little John moves quietly beside you, his massive frame hidden in the shadows. He's a force of nature, but out here, in the heart of Sherwood, he moves like a shadow, silent and deadly. Will and Much follow close behind, their eyes alert, their steps measured. Edward is a few paces behind, still a little unsure of himself, still trying to fit into this life. He hasn't been through what you've been through, hasn't faced the dangers that you've faced, but he's learning quickly. The woods don't care about your past. The woods only care about survival. As you move deeper into the forest, you can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. The hairs on the back of your neck stand on end, and you can feel the eyes of the world on you. It's the same feeling you've had countless times before, when you're being watched, when you know that someone or something is out there, waiting. You motion for the group to stop, crouching down behind a large oak tree. You raise a hand, signaling for them to stay low. Little John moves to the front, his eyes scanning the area, looking for any sign of danger. Will and Much move to the flanks, keeping watch. The forest is eerily quiet again, the silence only broken by the faintest whisper of the wind. You listen carefully, but all you hear is the distant call of birds, the rustle of leaves. It feels like a trap. You know you're being followed. You can feel it in your bones. Stay sharp, you whisper to Little John. Something's not right. He nods without speaking, his eyes narrowing as he peers into the distance. He's always had a knack for sensing danger before it strikes. Then you hear it. Hoofbeats. Faint, but growing louder. You've been through this too many times to mistake it for anything else. The sheriff's men are close. Too close. You motion for everyone to scatter, slipping into the underbrush as quietly as possible. You know that staying in one place for too long is dangerous. If they've spotted you, the only chance of escape is to get out of sight. You move quickly, your heart racing as you dart through the trees, your breath sharp in your lungs. You can hear the clatter of hooves now, the sound growing closer. You glance over your shoulder to see the riders coming into view, their dark silhouettes framed by the morning light. Stay low, you mutter to yourself, your hand gripping the bow tightly. You've done this 1,000 times before, but the weight of the decision now is heavier than it's ever been. Little John is already ahead of you, moving like a shadow. He's always been the most capable of evading the law, and you trust him to cover your back. Will and Much follow, their movements swift but cautious. Edward is further behind, still unsure of the forest's ways, but you know he's trying. The riders come into view, and you freeze, your breath caught in your throat. There are 4 of them, all dressed in the dark tunics of the sheriff's men, their horses moving in perfect synchrony as they scan the trees around them. They're looking for you. They're looking for outlaws, and they're not far off. You wait, the tension building in your chest as you hold your breath. The riders are moving closer now, their horses picking their way through the underbrush. You can see their faces, harsh and determined. You know that if they spot you, it's over. You glance over at Little John. He gives you a small nod, a signal to move. You know what it means, now or never. You draw your bow, silently moving forward, your feet barely making a sound on the forest floor. The riders are just ahead now, only a few paces away. You can see the glint of their weapons in the sunlight, their eyes scanning the trees, looking for any sign of movement. You take a deep breath, steadying your hand as you nock an arrow. The moment you've been waiting for. The moment when you have no choice but to fight. Now, you whisper, your voice barely audible. You let the arrow fly, and it strikes one of the riders in the shoulder, sending him tumbling from his horse. The others cry out in surprise, their horses rearing as they scramble to regain control. The moment of chaos is your chance. You move quickly, silently, moving through the trees like a shadow. Little John is right behind you, and Will and Much are on your heels, their weapons ready. The riders are disoriented, but they're not out of the game yet. You need to move fast. The sound of hooves grows quieter as you move deeper into the forest. The riders have been scattered, their search interrupted. But the danger isn't over. You know that they'll be back. More men, more horses, more weapons. They won't stop until they find you. You can feel the weight of the decision hanging over you. Marion is still waiting. Your son is still waiting. And you've made your choice. You're going to find them, no matter the cost. The hunt is still on. The forest is a maze. It always has been, but today, it feels more like a trap, one that's closing in on you with every step. The weight of the situation presses down on you as you move through the trees, your feet barely making a sound on the soft earth. The riders are still out there, still hunting you, and you know that if you don't keep moving, the odds will shift in their favor. The momentary distraction has worked for now. The sheriff's men are confused, scattered, but they won't stay that way for long. They'll regroup, and the hunt will start all over again. It's a familiar rhythm, one you've danced to for months, but it never gets easier. You take a deep breath, trying to steady your nerves. The smell of the earth, damp from the morning dew, is thick in the air. The silence of the forest is broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds. It's a peaceful sound, but it's hard to find peace when your heart is still racing from the close call. Little John is beside you, moving silently like the shadow he is. Will and Much are close behind, their eyes scanning the surroundings, looking for any sign of danger. You glance over your shoulder, catching Edward's anxious expression. He's still new to all this, the way you move through the world, the way you live. But he's learning fast. He's starting to understand that survival here isn't just about skill. It's about trust. As you push forward, you begin to hear the faint sounds of movement in the trees ahead. Your hand instinctively reaches for your bow, fingers brushing the smooth wood of the shaft. But this time, it's not a foe. It's a familiar sound. We're close, you say, voice barely a whisper. Little John nods, his eyes narrowing as he scans the area. How much farther? He asks, his voice low but laced with urgency. Not far. You reply, your heart pounding in your chest. You've been pushing through the woods for hours, the anticipation building with each step. The thought of Marion, of your son, keeps you going, but you know it won't be easy. The sheriff's men are always close behind, and you've led them right to this point. You can't afford to waste time. Not now. The woods begin to open up, the dense trees thinning out as you approach the edge of a clearing. You pause for a moment, scanning the area for any sign of movement. The clearing is quiet, eerily so, and for a moment, you wonder if it's too quiet. But then you hear it, a soft voice, a familiar laugh. Marion. You exhale a breath you didn't realize you were holding. There she is, standing just beyond the clearing, her back turned to you. She's laughing with someone, but you can't see who. Your heart leaps in your chest, a mix of relief and fear flooding through you. This is it, the moment you've been waiting for. But as you take a step forward, a chill runs down your spine. The laugh cuts off suddenly, replaced by a sharp intake of breath. Marion tenses, her head whipping around as she spots you. For a moment, her face is filled with shock, but then it softens into recognition. Her eyes widen. Robert. Her voice is a mix of disbelief and joy, but there's something else there too, fear. She knows the danger. She knows that your being here could mean the end of everything. You take a step closer, your heart in your throat. Marion, you say softly, your voice rough from days of running, of hiding. It's me. Her eyes flicker to the men behind you. Little John, Will, and Much are staying at the edge of the clearing, watching carefully. They know better than to rush in, but they also know that this moment could change everything. For a moment, Marion just stands there, staring at you as if she's trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the memories she has of you. Then, slowly, her lips curl into a smile, the tension easing from her shoulders. You came back, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't think you would. You step forward, your chest aching as you look at her. You've been apart for so long, but in this moment, it feels like no time has passed. She looks the same, but there's something in her eyes now, a weariness, a burden she's carried alone for far too long. I couldn't stay away, you reply, your voice steady. I couldn't leave you. She takes a step toward you, her hand reaching out. But before you can close the distance between you, a loud voice interrupts the moment, sending a wave of cold dread over you. Well, the voice says, dripping with malice. Look what we have here. You turn sharply, your hand instinctively reaching for your bow, but it's too late. The sheriff's men are already stepping into the clearing, their swords drawn and ready. There are at least 6 of them, armed and prepared to fight. Your blood runs cold. This was the moment you feared, the moment you knew was coming, but hoped you could avoid. The sheriff's men have found you, and there's no escaping this time. Marion steps back, her eyes wide with fear. No, she whispers, her voice breaking. Not like this. Get away from her, you command, your voice low and dangerous as you move to protect her. The leader of the group, a man you've seen before, his face scarred and cruel, laughs. You've made a grave mistake, Hood. You think you can just waltz back into this village and expect a happy reunion? You've been a thorn in the sheriff's side for too long. He steps forward, the other men following suit, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. You know what's coming. You've faced this before, but it's different now. It's not just about your life. It's about Marion's, your son's, everything you've ever wanted. Stay behind me, you tell Marion, your voice calm despite the storm raging inside you. She doesn't argue. She knows there's no choice now. She knows that her safety depends on you, and you will fight for her, no matter the cost. The sheriff's men advance, and you raise your bow, ready to make your move. But the situation is worse than you thought. There are too many. You'll have to fight your way out. And that means risking everything. Leave now, you say, your voice firm, your eyes locking onto the leader. Or this ends badly for you. The leader smirks, clearly unfazed. This ends when we say it does, Robin Hood. You draw your bow. You know there's no turning back. The fight is on. The tension in the air is palpable, thick with the weight of the moment. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for Marion, for your son, for everything that's left of the life you once had. The sheriff's men close in, their swords gleaming in the sunlight, their faces twisted with smug superiority. But you don't flinch. You don't back down. You've faced worse odds, and you've come out alive. You can feel Marion's eyes on you, and though you can't look back at her right now, you know she's waiting for you to make the first move. There's no choice now. The moment you stepped into this clearing, you sealed your fate. There's no escape. The only way out is through. The leader of the sheriff's men, this scarred, cruel man who seems to have it out for you, steps forward, his sword raised. This is it, Hood. You've made your final mistake. You don't reply. There's no need. You've heard it all before. You've faced men like him countless times in the past. Men who thought they could crush you with their weapons, their numbers, their arrogance. But you know something they don't. You know the forest. You know how to fight, how to survive. Stay back, you say to Marion in a low voice, even as you step into the center of the clearing, positioning yourself between her and the men. Don't move. She doesn't argue. She knows what you're about to do. She trusts you. But there's something in her eyes that you can't ignore. Fear, but also hope. She's been waiting for this, for you to come back. And now, you'll do everything in your power to protect her. The leader of the sheriff's men sneers. You've been a thorn in the sheriff's side for too long, Hood. It's time to end this. You raise your bow, and the string hums as you pull it taut. You aim at the closest man, your eyes narrowing, every muscle in your body focused on the task at hand. Your hand steadies, and in one smooth motion, you release the arrow. It flies through the air with deadly precision, striking the man square in the chest. He crumples to the ground with a grunt, and the others jump back, startled by how quickly you moved. The leader's eyes flash with anger, and he gestures for his men to advance. Get him, he shouts. You don't wait for them to get any closer. You've already knocked another arrow, and without hesitation, you fire again, the arrow hitting one of the advancing men in the arm. He yells in pain, dropping his sword, but you don't stop. You can't. Not now. Will, Much, and Little John spring into action at the same time, rushing forward with their weapons drawn. Much's sling spins above his head, releasing a stone that strikes another of the sheriff's men in the face, knocking him unconscious. Little John charges at the largest of them, his quarterstaff crashing against the man's ribs with a sickening crack. You don't look back to see how they're handling their own fights. You don't need to. You know that they can take care of themselves. Your focus is entirely on the leader, the man who wants to bring everything to an end. He's the one who matters now. He charges at you, his sword raised high, ready to strike. You duck under his swing, narrowly avoiding the blade as it whizzes past your head. With a quick move, you draw your dagger from your side and lunge at him, aiming for his exposed side. But he's fast, faster than you expected. He twists just in time, catching your wrist with his own. For a moment, you're locked in a struggle, your dagger inches away from his side as he presses you back. His grip is iron, his breath hot on your neck as he forces you toward the ground. But you don't give up. You can't. With a swift, desperate movement, you bring your knee up into his gut. The air leaves his lungs in a sharp gasp, and you take advantage of his momentary weakness. You twist your body, breaking free from his grasp. In one fluid motion, you bring your dagger around, slashing it across his arm. He stumbles back, his sword dropping from his hand as he grips his wound, his face contorting with rage and pain. But you're not finished. You take a step forward, your heart pounding, your body already moving before you can think. The fight is far from over, but you know this is your chance. You strike again, this time landing a blow to his chest that sends him crashing to the ground. He groans, unable to rise. Breathing heavily, you stand over him, your dagger poised. It's over, you say, your voice cold. You lost. The man glares up at you, hatred burning in his eyes, but he doesn't move. He can't. He knows that the fight is done. Behind you, Little John, Will, and Much have subdued the rest of the sheriff's men. The clearing is silent now, save for the groans of the fallen men and the crackle of the fire. You turn to Marion, who has been watching the whole fight unfold, her face pale but determined. She doesn't say anything at first. She just looks at you, her eyes searching, waiting for some sign. For what? You're not sure. Maybe for the reassurance that this is over. Maybe for the reassurance that you haven't just led her into another fight. We need to go, you say, your voice softer now. You approach her, reaching out to take her hand, but the weight of what comes next is already settling in. The battle may be won, but the war isn't over. You can't stay here. You can't risk staying too long. Marion nods, her lips pressed into a thin line. She looks back at the unconscious sheriff's man, her eyes filled with something you can't quite place. Regret, perhaps, but there's no time for regrets. The forest is still dangerous, and there's no guarantee you won't have more problems soon. We'll leave now, you say, gently pulling her toward the edge of the clearing. The others follow, and you begin to move, careful and quiet, back into the woods. But you don't feel free yet. Not with the sheriff's men still out there. Not with the danger still lurking just beyond the trees. You can hear their voices faintly in the distance, shouting orders. But for now, you've won. For now, you're free. But it's a fleeting freedom, one that you know won't last. Let's move quickly, you say. We'll find shelter for the night, and then we'll figure out our next move. Stay close, all of you. The forest feels different now, more alive than it did before, but the shadows are still there. The hunt is never truly over, and you know it. You walk on, side by side with Marion, the weight of everything hanging heavy in the air. But for now, you keep moving forward, one step at a time. The journey through Sherwood seems slower now, the weight of the day's events pressing down on you with every step. The adrenaline from the fight fades, replaced by the exhaustion of the long trek ahead. The woods are still thick around you, but the world feels different now, more pressing, as if everything is converging on this moment. You've done what you had to do, fought off the sheriff's men, but the road ahead remains perilous. It's one thing to win a skirmish, and another entirely to survive the consequences. Marion walks beside you, her hand firmly clasped in yours. The contact is grounding, a reminder that, despite everything, you're still fighting for something real, something worth risking your life for. Her presence is both a comfort and a reminder of what's at stake. She's been waiting for you, and now you're here. But what comes next? You don't have all the answers, and you know that she doesn't either. I didn't think you'd come back, Marion says quietly, her voice barely above a whisper as you continue to walk. You squeeze her hand gently, looking at her with an expression she can't quite read. I wasn't sure I would, either. You admit, your voice rough from both the strain of the day and the weight of unspoken emotions. She doesn't press. There's nothing more that needs to be said. The past is behind you now. What matters is the present, the moment you're walking through right now, with her by your side. Your feet crunch softly against the underbrush as you move forward, the sound of the forest accompanying you on your journey. The rest of the band follows behind, keeping their distance but staying close. The forest has a way of closing in on you, and even in the depths of Sherwood, you can feel eyes on you, hidden just beyond the trees. Will's voice breaks the silence, cutting through the stillness. We need to keep moving. The sheriff's men aren't far behind. They'll send reinforcements. We'll have to be smarter if we're going to get out of this alive. You nod, already knowing what he's going to say. You've been through this enough times to understand the stakes. We head north, you say, your voice firm. We'll take the back roads and avoid the villages. No more chances. Agreed, Little John adds, his voice deep and steady. We'll keep moving until we find a safe place. Maybe a day's travel, maybe more. But we can't linger. You glance over at Marion, her face etched with worry. She's been through so much already, and you can see the toll it's taken on her. The months without you, the constant fear, the pressure of surviving alone in a world that's never been kind. But there's something else in her eyes too. A fire, a strength that you almost didn't expect. You're not alone, you say softly, meeting her gaze. I'm not leaving you again. She looks at you, her expression softening. I know, but this world, Robert, it's not the same anymore. We can't just run forever. You don't have an answer for her. You've thought the same thing countless times, the same gnawing feeling that runs through your chest every time you make a decision. Running has been all you've known, but it's not sustainable. You can't hide forever. Sooner or later, something has to give. The trees begin to thin, the dense forest giving way to the open roads, and you realize that you've crossed a boundary. You're no longer just a man on the run. You're a symbol, a name that people recognize. You can hear the distant sound of hooves as the sheriff's men regroup, the thundering of their pursuit echoing in the distance. "We can't stay here," Will mutters, his tone urgent. "They'll be closing in. We need to move." You nod, stepping into the underbrush, guiding Marion gently but quickly. Little John and the others follow, and soon, the quiet urgency of your movement turns into a fast-paced march. You're not running blindly, but the path you've chosen leads you deeper into unknown territory. There's no going back now. You can't turn around, not with the sheriff's men on your tail. A few hours pass as you move deeper into the woods, the daylight fading, and the shadows growing longer with every step. You find a small clearing, a temporary refuge where you can catch your breath. The fire is started with quiet efficiency, and the men settle down, keeping their voices low. But even in this moment of brief respite, you know it won't last. The threat is real, and it's coming. Every moment you delay puts you one step closer to disaster. As night falls, the quiet hum of the forest surrounds you. You sit by the fire, the warmth of fleeting comfort. Marion sits beside you, her face illuminated by the flickering flames. The moment feels like an eternity, stretched thin by the weight of everything you've been through and everything that's still to come. You find her hand in yours, your fingers intertwined, as if the simple act of holding on is the only thing that keeps you both tethered to this world. "Tomorrow," you say quietly, your eyes on the fire. "Tomorrow, we head for Wickham. It's the last place they'll look." Her eyes meet yours, a mixture of fear and determination written on her face. "Are you sure about this? About going there? We don't know what the sheriff has planned." You nod. "I know, but we can't stay here. We can't keep running." The rest of the men stay silent, their thoughts their own as they tend to the fire and prepare for the night. Will's face is grim, his thoughts clearly elsewhere. Much, ever the quiet one, has his back to the fire, scanning the trees. Little John's gaze is distant, but you know that he's thinking about the journey ahead. The hours stretch on, and the conversation becomes sparse. Everyone is tired. Everyone is waiting for something, waiting for the inevitable next step, for the moment when the danger becomes too real to ignore. But right now, in the safety of the firelight, there's no immediate threat. The sheriff's men aren't on your heels. Not yet. As the fire burns down to embers, you find yourself alone with Marion. The rest of the band has retired for the night, leaving you to your thoughts. "I don't know if I'm strong enough to keep doing this," Marion admits quietly, her voice almost lost in the crackling of the fire. "I don't know how much more I can take." You turn to her, your heart heavy with understanding. "You don't have to be strong all the time. We're in this together, and I'll do whatever it takes to get us through this." She doesn't answer, but the way she looks at you tells you that she believes you. And for now, that's enough. The night is silent except for the wind rustling through the trees, and as you close your eyes, you know that tomorrow will bring new challenges. But for tonight, in this moment, you're not just an outlaw. You're a man with a purpose, with something to fight for, and that makes all the difference. The night stretches on, the crackling of the fire the only sound breaking the stillness of the forest. It's a strange kind of peace, a fleeting sense of calm before the storm. You lie back against the soft bed of leaves, the firelight flickering across your face, your mind racing with thoughts of the future. The rest of the band sleeps, or at least pretends to. The danger hasn't passed. You know that. You can feel the weight of what's to come pressing down on you, heavy as a stone. Marion is beside you, her head resting lightly on your shoulder. She's exhausted, just like you, but she doesn't seem to be able to sleep. You can feel the tension in her body, the way her muscles are stiff with worry, the same way you're holding your breath, waiting for something to happen. But nothing does. The fire crackles, and the wind whispers through the trees, but the night remains unnaturally quiet. You ever wonder how long we can keep this up? Marion's voice is soft, barely a whisper, but you hear the weariness in it. She's tired. You can tell. You shift slightly, pulling her a little closer. The forest around you is full of life, full of rustling leaves, animal calls, and the soft creak of branches swaying in the breeze. But in this moment, it feels like you're the only ones awake in the world. Every day, You answer her quietly. Every day, I wonder if this will be the one where we get caught, the one where the sheriff's men finally catch up. She doesn't say anything to that, but you can feel her body relax slightly against yours. It's a simple comfort, the warmth of her presence, the knowledge that she's here with you. And for now, that's enough. I didn't ask for this, she says suddenly, her voice cracking just a little. I didn't ask for any of this. A life on the run, a life filled with fear. I didn't ask to be dragged into your fight. You feel the sting of her words, but you understand. You understand it more than anything. You never meant for her to be a part of this. You never meant for her to bear the weight of this life. But there's no turning back now. I know, you say softly, turning to face her. I didn't want this for you either. For either of us. Her eyes meet yours in the firelight, and for a moment, there's nothing but silence between you. It's a silence that speaks louder than words ever could, full of the weight of everything you've been through and everything that lies ahead. But you can't change it now. The road has been paved, and you have to walk it. The choices you've made have led you here, and there's no going back. She reaches up and touches your face, her fingers brushing against your cheek in a way that makes your heart ache. What if we're not strong enough? What if we can't outrun them forever? You close your eyes, breathing in deeply, trying to steady yourself. You've asked yourself the same questions, but all you can do is keep going. For her, for your son, for the people who are counting on you. We'll keep moving, you say quietly. We'll stay one step ahead, and when the time comes, we'll make our stand. She nods, though the uncertainty in her eyes remains. You wish you could promise her more than just survival. You wish you could promise her peace, a life away from this constant fear. But you can't. The fire burns low as the night stretches on, and you both settle into silence, the weight of the world pressing heavily on your shoulders. Tomorrow is another day, another step closer to Wickham, another step closer to whatever future you have left. The men sleep fitfully, their movements restless as they dream of battles, of the next fight, of the future that looms just beyond their reach. They don't say it, but you know that each one of them is waiting for the moment when the fight becomes too much to bear. You can see it in their eyes, the weariness, the longing for something more than this. But this is all you have right now. And right now, you have to protect it. The night is long, but it eventually begins to fade into dawn. You rise slowly, the weight of what's to come settling heavily on you. Marion stirs beside you, her eyes blinking open as she takes in the world around her. The forest feels more oppressive now, the shadows longer and heavier as the day begins to break. Little John is already up, his massive frame silhouetted against the rising light. He's checking his weapons, making sure everything is ready for the day. Will follow shortly after, his eyes scanning the trees, always on alert. Much is still asleep, his small form curled up near the fire. Edward is sitting off to the side, his back to a tree, his eyes distant as he watches the group. You stand, your body sore from the day before, but you know it's time to move. There's no time to waste. You have to keep going. The sheriff's men won't stop coming, and every minute you delay puts you one step closer to being caught. We move today, you say, your voice firm, cutting through the quiet morning air. We head for Wickham. We don't stop until we're out of this forest. The others nod in agreement, their faces grim but resolute. They understand. They've all been through too much to turn back now. The journey ahead is still long, and the dangers are far from over. But for now, there's no other choice. You have to keep moving forward, one step at a time. For Marion, for your son, for all of you. The road to Wickham is uncertain. You know that, but it's the only road you have left, and you'll walk it no matter the cost. The first light of day creeps into the clearing as you gather your things, the weight of the coming hours settling heavy on your shoulders. The fire is now a smoldering heap of embers, the warmth fading, leaving behind the chill of the early morning air. The silence of the forest around you feels different today, almost ominous, as though it knows what's coming. The sounds of birds are distant, muffled by the dense trees. It's the calm before the storm, and you can feel it in your bones. You move quickly but quietly, your mind focused on the task at hand. Today is the day you make your move toward Wickham. Every step brings you closer to Marion's safety, but also deeper into enemy territory. The sheriff's men are still hunting you, and you can feel the tension tightening in the air, like the strings of a bow pulled taut. One wrong move, and everything could unravel. As you gather your gear, you steal a glance at Marion. She's already awake, her face pale in the early light, the weariness of their journey clear in the lines around her eyes. You wish you could promise her peace, but there's no peace to be had. Not now. Not while the sheriff's men are still chasing you. Not while you're still a wanted man. All you can offer her is survival, and even that feels uncertain. You ready? You ask her softly as you approach, adjusting your bow over your shoulder. Marion looks up at you, her gaze steady despite the fear and uncertainty that lingers in her eyes. I don't know if I'll ever be ready, she replies quietly, but I'll follow you. Wherever we go. You nod, your chest tight at the weight of her words. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about her. It's about your son. It's about everything you've left behind, and everything that's still ahead. Little John moves around the camp, checking his weaponry and gathering supplies. Will, ever watchful, keeps his eyes on the horizon, looking for any sign of movement. Much seems lost in his own thoughts, his face troubled as he sits quietly, his fingers absently rubbing the hilt of his knife. Edward, still a stranger to your group, but no longer an outsider, moves to the edge of the clearing, his face tense with anticipation. You know he's still unsure about where he fits in all of this, but you've given him a chance. That's more than he had before. We leave now, you say, your voice low but firm. You motion for everyone to fall in line, and the group begins to assemble. Stay quiet, stay sharp. We keep moving until we reach Wickham. No detours. There's no time to waste. You've already lost too much time, and the sheriff's men are relentless. You can't afford to be caught off guard. The trek through the woods is slow and deliberate. Every step feels like it could be your last, but you move with purpose. The forest around you grows denser, the trees thicker as you make your way deeper into the heart of Sherwood. You can't help but feel the weight of the forest bearing down on you, the trees seeming to grow closer together, as though they're closing in on you, trapping you in the maze of their branches. You focus on the path ahead, knowing that the longer you stay in these woods, the higher the risk. You move quickly, your heart pounding in your chest with each snap of a twig underfoot. The others follow, moving like shadows through the underbrush, their eyes scanning the trees for any sign of danger. As you round a bend, you spot a clearing ahead, and you instinctively signal for the group to stop. You crouch low, moving quickly behind a thick bush to conceal yourself. Little John and will follow suit, each of them taking their position with quiet precision. You listen carefully, the air tense with anticipation. The forest is still, too still, but you can hear the faint sound of hooves in the distance, the unmistakable clatter of the sheriff's men on horseback. Your heart races. You don't know if they're close, but the sound is getting louder. They could be just around the corner, and if they spot you, the entire plan is ruined. You glance at Little John, who's already assessing the situation. He motions toward a narrow trail behind a thicket of trees. "We can go that way," he murmurs. "It'll take us farther north, but it's a tight fit." You nod. "Let's move. Now." You gesture for the others to follow, and you begin to move down the narrow path, squeezing between trees and pushing through thick foliage. It's slow, difficult going, and every step feels like an eternity. The sound of hooves grows louder, closer now, and you know that you don't have much time before they catch up. You keep pushing forward, the path winding and narrow, your focus only on the next step. You can hear Marion's quiet breath behind you, feel the tension in the air as she follows your lead. She's scared, you can tell, but she's not hesitating. She's with you. The path finally opens up to a small hill, and you pause, taking a moment to look around. The sound of the horses is gone, but you can still feel the tension in the air. The sheriff's men are out there, and you've just narrowly avoided them. But for how long? "We need to keep moving," Will says, his voice barely above a whisper. "They'll regroup soon. We need to get farther from here." You nod, knowing he's right. You can't stay in one place for too long. Not now. Not when the stakes are so high. You glance at Marion, who's standing a few paces behind you, her face pale but determined. She's been through too much, and the weight of everything, the fear, the uncertainty, The knowledge that you're always one step away from disaster has begun to show on her face. But she doesn't complain. She doesn't ask you to turn back. She keeps moving. As the group presses on, you can't help but wonder what tomorrow holds. The road to Wickham is uncertain, and there's no guarantee that you'll make it without further confrontation. The sheriff's men are relentless, and you know they'll stop at nothing to track you down. But for now, you focus on the task at hand. You can't afford to think too far ahead. The only thing that matters is getting through today. The sun begins to sink lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The day is coming to an end, but you know the night will bring new dangers. You can feel the weight of it all, the uncertainty, the fear, but you push it aside. You have to. Keep moving, you order softly. We camp as soon as we're out of sight. You push forward, your body aching from the long journey, but your resolve unwavering. The night is still ahead, and with it, more danger, more decisions. But for now, you keep going. For Marion, for your son, for everything you've lost, and everything you still hope to find. The night creeps in slowly, as if the forest itself is trying to hide you from the world, cloaking you in darkness. Every step feels heavier as the hours pass, your body growing more fatigued with each mile. The path ahead is unclear, but you keep moving, one step, then the next, pushing through the thickening woods with no other goal but survival. The sounds of the forest are muffled now, the stillness broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant call of an owl. The weight of your decision to move north feels like a heavy cloak around you. The journey is long, the danger's still just a step behind, but you know there's no other choice. You can't risk staying too close to the main roads. You can't afford to be seen. The sheriff's men are out there, and they won't stop hunting you. Not now, not when they know you're this close. But the night grows colder, and the forest's grip on you tightens. Every shadow seems darker, every noise more ominous. You've been in the wild for so long that the nights feel like a constant battle against your own exhaustion. It's the kind of weariness that seeps into your bones, pulling you down even as you push forward. Marion walks beside you, her face set in determination, but you can see the fatigue in her eyes. The journey has taken a toll on her too, and you can't help but feel the weight of it. You've dragged her into this world, into this life of constant danger, and though she never complains, you know it's wearing on her. She hasn't asked to be here. She didn't sign up for this. And yet, here she is, by your side, almost there. You say softly, breaking the silence as you glance at her. You're not sure if it's for her sake or your own, but you need the reassurance. She nods, though she doesn't say anything. Her silence speaks volumes, but you don't push. You know she's doing the same thing you are, trying to survive the night, trying to keep moving forward. The group moves with quiet urgency, the fire from the clearing a distant memory now, and you can hear the sound of the night creeping in around you. The air is thick with the scent of pine and wet earth, and the shadows stretch out, as if they're trying to swallow you whole. But you can't stop. Not now. Little John moves up beside you, his massive form a steady presence in the dark. "We'll need to find shelter soon," he says, his voice low and cautious. "We're exposed out here. The sheriff's men are bound to come through soon." You nod in agreement. "We'll keep moving until we're clear of the main roads. Then we'll find a place to camp." The thought of stopping brings a chill to your spine. You don't want to rest. Not while there's still a chance the sheriff's men could be on your trail. You've already pushed the band hard today, and the last thing you want is to risk being caught off guard. But you also know that exhaustion is creeping up on all of you. The weariness is building in every step, and the forest is only growing darker. You can't keep moving forever. You'll need to stop eventually. But for now, you keep going. The constant ticking of time presses on you, a reminder that you're not free yet. Finally, after what feels like hours, you spot a small, hidden hollow among the trees, a place where the foliage is dense enough to provide cover. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. You signal to the others to slow down, and everyone starts to settle into the hollow, setting up a temporary camp. Little John gathers wood for a fire, while Will and Much keep watch. their eyes scanning the darkened woods for any signs of movement. You kneel down beside Marion, your muscles aching as you finally allow yourself to rest. She looks at you, her eyes filled with the weight of the journey. "I didn't think we'd make it this far," she admits quietly, her voice a mix of exhaustion and relief. I thought you'd leave me behind." The words hit you harder than you expected, but you don't show it. You reach for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I'll never leave you behind," you say firmly, your voice filled with a certainty you didn't realize you had. "You're not alone in this. We'll get through this together." Marion's eyes soften, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifts from her shoulders. But you both know the truth, that survival isn't guaranteed. That tomorrow, there could be more dangers, more threats, more decisions to make. But for tonight, there's peace. There's a moment of respite in the chaos of it all. As the fire flickers to life, you sit in silence, the warmth of the flames mingling with the cool air of the night. The world feels still for the first time in days, the noise of the forest muted as the crackling fire fills the space. You hear the occasional shift in the woods, a branch snapping or the sound of an animal moving through the underbrush, but for now, you're safe. The hours slip by, and the fire burns low. The shadows grow longer as the night stretches on, but you're too tired to move. The pull of sleep is heavy now, weighing down your thoughts. You're not sure if you'll sleep deeply, or if the worry of what's ahead will keep you awake, but you welcome the chance to close your eyes, even for a little while. Tomorrow is another day, another step toward Wickham, another fight to survive. But tonight, there's peace. There's a brief, fleeting moment of calm, and you take it. You hold on to it. For now, that's enough. Sweet dreams.